And welcome to Empire State of Baseball. This is episode 3 on April the 18th, Monday, of course. I am joined by our greats, Corey Favaloro, Rich Rivera, and Tom Wospil. Guys, I hope you had a great weekend, great Easter weekend filled with baseball, sports, and everything in between. We had a great bunch of games, except for Yankee fans, unfortunately. The Mets did a great
now, huh?
The Mets did a great job this weekend series. The Yankees threw up a little bit of a disappointment against the home rival Orioles in an unexpected series loss early in this baseball season. That's where I believe we are going to start out.
Listen, I said it on Twitter, and there's nothing I love more than Mets fans getting cocky in the middle of April. It feels just like last year, how good you guys were doing, and then how did it end up? I'm just curious. What team went to the postseason? What team?
Listen, you just got to enjoy the ride. Just got to enjoy the ride.
I just wanted to.
That's it.
I just wanted to, make sure of that. And also want to make sure that everyone out there is, you're watching us on Twitch. Make sure you download the Twitch app. It's the best way to watch us live. You can subscribe to Empire State of Baseball. The link is in our Twitter bio, and obviously it's where you are most likely watching this. So I want to make sure we have the people know how to find us.
Very nicely done, Tom. There you go.
Yes.
Goddamn right it was.
Listen, guys, first losing series, second losing series of the year, but first one to the Orioles. It's always tough losing them. But what are you guys feeling after watching that series? You got a good pitching performance from Nestor Cortez, who looks like a world beater all of a sudden. So you have to feel good about that. You're not really happy that Gallo and Torres are batting a combined 150, which is about the weight of an average middle schooler. So, what are we feeling here coming into this Monday where you have an off day?
And that game yesterday was personified Yankee loss. Nestor Cortez has the literal game of his major league career high in strikeouts of 12. Cortez has been such a wild story. And, he's a guy that if the Yankees were to make an improvement on this team, many people would say, hey, Cortez would probably be the odd man out of that rotation. I don't think so anymore, guys. I think Nestor Cortez is the real deal. I love seeing what he's doing, but we're not talking about the pitching. The pitching is great. Actually, I believe from as of yesterday, still the Yankees lead the American League in team ERA. So just between the rotation and bullpen, things have been going great there. It's that fucking batting order. And we're going to get into it, of course, and reconstruct this batting order because it has not been consistent, guys. We've seen different orders come out every day. It's as if we're playing, a different month every single game out. I mean, each lineup is so different. And this guy, Joey Gallo, still batting in prominent roles. And if you didn't hear Joe's rant about it last week, go to YouTube, check out his rant on Joey Gallo. He's not even a Yankee fan. This doesn't concern him. This is concerning to us fans here, Tom. What are we doing with Joey Gallo?
Listen, all Yankee business is Met fans' concern. That's what, the Mets fans talk about 75% of the times. There are things that are going on in the Bronx because they don't want to talk about their normally pitiful team. But yeah, listen, it wasn't just Nestor that had a good weekend. Tyone had a good start. Monty had a good start. The bullpen was pretty good. It wasn't great, but it was enough to win. It's the same old Yankees from last year. It's a lot of just not putting forth the effort, resting. How Aaron Judge needs a game off 7 games into the season is ludicrous. It's ridiculous. How is he doesn't need it, and that's the worst part. He doesn't need a day off. Rizzo didn't need a day off this series. Who else had a day? I think LeMahieu had a day off this series. These guys don't need to rest. They need to play.
Yeah, the problem is,
they don't need all these rest days, and then you can't get into a rhythm. And like we were talking about, we're going to try to reconstruct this lineup, but first you got to get the same guys in there all the time, and it's not them that want to sit out. It's it's not Boone, if I'm being honest either. I don't think it's him. It's the front office, it's Cashman, it's the analytics guys. They think that they need to rest him to keep him healthy, but they're going to realize that if they don't play him, they're not going to win, and that's worse.
Yep. No, listen, you're right. You can't keep resting these guys. Listen, I know you want to give guys a blow every now and then, but you got to get some consistency with this lineup, man. I'll tell you, hey, where's the freaking gabagool? Rizzo only hitting 212 right now. I think Gallo hitting below 200. Where's this guy been all time? We got to get this, this team's got to wake up. What are we doing here? Come on, we're the New York Yankees, and we can't fucking hit the ball. Come on, let's go now.
Oh,
Unbelievable. Unbelievable, man.
So cultured. I love it. I love it.
Well, listen, I mean, the problem with the Yankees is you got two players not just Gallo. You got another player in Torres who has vastly underperformed up until this point and is put in a spot where you have to rotate your infielders. DJ is going to get days off. Donaldson, Rizzo are going to get days off because the Yankees still believe in Torres. Now, we're going to get to a point in this season where the Yankees are going to have to make a decision. If you are going to play both Torres and Gallo, it should be a straight platoon. All right? Your infield should be set. It should be DJ is your best field and infielder. He should play second base every chance he gets. I'm sorry. You know what? Donaldson, yeah, you want a little bit more consistency out of him. He's won you 2 games with his bat already. So, Donaldson's got to play as far as I'm concerned. You have that DH slot. When Torres plays, Stanton goes into the outfield, and Donaldson goes to DH, and you can put LeMahieu at third. When Gallo plays, and he should only play against righties, and Torres should only play against lefties. When Gallo plays, Torres needs to sit on the bench, and Gallo will play left field. It should be a straight up platoon with those players until one of them or both decide that they want to hit like a major league player, and not only a major league player, a former all-star. And neither of them have shown that right now. And the Yankees fans in particular are going to run out of patience with both of these guys very soon. Torres is, forget Gallo. Gallo at this point is a mercenary. He's not going to be here past next year. Torres is just about at the end of his rope because he was supposed to be the franchise cornerstone infielder for this team. He was supposed to be this second guy with Judge, who was supposed to be the cornerstone of this franchise, and he hasn't done that. So has now put the Yankees in a position where if this goes on much more than the 10 games it's gone on for, they're going to have to hit a wall with both of these guys.
Torres has quickly gone from being untouchable to untradeable on this team. And it said, I like your layout of Gallo and Torres not being in the same order. Yes, you're going to be doing a lot of juggling with the defense, which is the one thing I'm probably not the biggest fan of. I still believe that this team should be defense first, but honestly, with the bats, the way they're swinging, maybe it's time to give up a little bit of defense for some offense here and put out your best bats. And at this rate, it's like, I feel like no matter how we can reconstruct this Yankee order, guys, there's going to be holes. There's going to be holes. It's just a matter of how could you mask the holes the best? And maybe we can get into a couple of those lineups. Tom, did you have a lineup that you wanted to throw out to Aaron Boone? Let's just say, starting now, the Yankees are going to stick with whatever lineup you're going to go with for the rest of the month. They're going to ride it out. Whatever this lineup is, this is the deal going on for the rest of the month. Tom, what do you got?
Yeah, so I think what you said there surprisingly was smart, Rich. And it is the important thing is that the Yankees need a general lineup. They're going to have some tweaks to it, but they need to stick with it for some amount of time. Give me 2 weeks with the same lineup again. You want to do a little bit of changing in and out, your Gleyber's coming in, and that sort of stuff. Fine, whatever. But they need to stick with a lineup. And here's what I came up with. Leading off is no one's favorite Yankee, Aaron Hicks. Aaron Hicks is slashing 333, 438, 882 this season. He has been getting on base. You need guys at the top of the line to get on base. He's a switch hitter. He's not the fastest guy anymore, but let's be honest, really no one in the Yankees lineup is fast. No one's stealing bases out there until we get to IKF later. I have Hicks leading off, playing center field. 2 and 3, I easily could flip flop, but I ended up deciding on Judge. Doing, he's hitting, he's slugging 779 this year, so it's below average for him, but he's still Aaron Judge. He's gonna rebound, and if he would maybe play every day, he'd get a little bit of rhythm going, and he'd be good to go. Third, I have Rizzo. Now, we mentioned before, Rizzo is batting 212, but he's a 381 on base. He's taking his walks. He gets hit 1,000 times a year, and he's slugging 896. He's the highest slugging percentage on the team. I kind of really wanted him second. I couldn't. I don't know. I think I didn't want all those righties in a row. Not going to go through all the stats for everyone moving forward, but Stanton fourth, LeMahieu fifth. I do have Gallo sixth. Joey Gallo needs – listen, if you have Joey Gallo on this team, he's a streaky player. He needs to play. If he's not playing, he's useless. He's worthless. You have to let him get hot. And if you're not going to do that, then you just give him away for nothing, because he's going to do nothing for you on the bench. He's not a guy that's going to come in and be a good pinch hitter. You need him to play. Seventh, I have Donaldson, who has, he has won 2 games with his offense this year, but he is, he's hitting 200 on base of 256. Not great. Eighth, I have the catcher. Obviously, Trevino has been good. He's, if you look at his stats,
500.
500 on base, 1.1 OPS. It's, it's what, 2 games, 3 games. It's silly numbers. Doesn't matter at this point. Higgy struggling on base of 120, slugging 280, which is,
and he had a good spring too.
He sure did have a good spring. Well, it's because again, Corey, I don't know how much Yankee baseball you watch, but Kyle Higashioka loves fastballs, and anything that has a wrinkle in it, he struggles with. So, considering a lot of spring training games, guys are just working their fastball, he's gonna crush it. When I was down there in Tampa, seeing him take batting practice is a bit of a sight. He does crank out BP fastballs.
Nice.
Anything that has a curve in it, little struggle. And then I have IKF at short, rounding out the lineup, who's also been bad, but also is not very good offensively in general. But at least he gives you a little bit of speed on the bottom of the lineup. Hopefully he could move some guys around. And
my thing with the Yankee lineup is when the Yankees were successful the last few years, DJ LeMahieu was either batting 1, 2, or 3 in the order. Okay. I am at a loss for why the Yankees believe that batting him 5th is now better for this team when he is by far and away your most consistent hitter in this lineup. Now, granted, he didn't bat 330 last year. He was batting, I think his final average for the year was around 275. But as far as I'm concerned, DJ needs to be either the catalyst to start the lineup or the presence in the middle of the order to get hits and not strike out. When you have Judge, Stanton, Rizzo, and Gallo batting in succession, that's a lot of strikeouts. There's a lot of outs. There's a lot of way to get all 4 of those guys out. When you split that up with DJ, that is one person that you do not want to face with men on base. And I'm sure, aside from Judge, I'm sure of all the guys that you don't want to face in that lineup, he's at the top when runners are in scoring position. So for me, I have no problem with Rizzo batting first. He's done a good job there. I still don't think the Yankees can trust Hicks long term. So to me, putting Hicks in that position is going to put them in a weird spot. I would do Rizzo, Judge, LeMahieu, Stanton. All right, you have lefty, righty for the first 4 bats in the lineup. Okay, I would still consider batting Donaldson 5th. All right, if you have to have Gallo in that lineup, I would have him 6th, no higher than that. And then I would have Hicks 7th, Higgy 8, and IKF 9. All right, I think that gives you the most balanced start to finish. At the end of the lineup, IKF is a contact hitter. He's going to turn that lineup over and bring it to your power guys. But to me, DJ has to get the most opportunities with men on base. He's not doing that in the 5-hole. He's not breaking up the power.
I mean, he's gonna have more men on base in the 5-hole than he would leading off, because the bottom of the lineup
has Higgy.
Yeah,
He's
but
got
he
average.
Higgy and IKF don't get on base, so he's gonna always come up with no one on base. Hicks, I think, is a good. Hicks is if he can. Now, granted, it's 10 games in the season. It's not a crazy long sample size, but he is a better leadoff type hitter. He sees pitches. He doesn't like to swing. If we're being honest, he loves walking. He has been hitting this year. Gets him on. At Judge and Stanton are guys that, although they do strike out a fair amount, they're not Gallo type players that bat 200. You know, they do tend to hit in the high 200s, even though they are sluggers. And then you have Rizzo in there too. I think that gives DJ a good chance for RBIs in the middle of that lineup. I think it's also going to have DJ give some protection to a guy like Stanton. I think Gallo behind Stanton is bad because everyone, at least at this point, when Gallo's cold, you know you could just walk Stanton and Stanton will chase pitches if you don't throw him strikes, and then to get the Gallo. You know you're not going to get that from DJ. So if you get Hicks on base, basically what I'm trying to do is score runs the top 5 guys in the lineup. That's what you're going to have to do at this point.
My thing is the chances of you getting to the 5 position through Gallo with less than 2 outs is slim to none.
Well,
Gallo
at
at
this
this
next,
point,
so.
Gallo at this point is an automatic out. I don't want my best guy hidden with runners in scoring position. You get one guy on in the first inning, your inning's over once you get to Gallo. Okay.
Yeah, but I have Gallo hitting 6th. The Gallo, I don't have Gallo most definitely come up in the first inning.
All right,
and with Gallo behind LeMahieu, DJ is someone who isn't going to expand the strike zone so much. So if they are pitching around him, he'll take his walk. Now, granted, at some point, Gallo's a guy who's going to run into some, and if you can just keep walking LeMahieu and Stanton in front of him, you get a couple three-run bombs out of Gallo. It works. I know that it doesn't look like it has at this point, but that's what I'm thinking. Rich, I know you want to talk, which makes me want to mute you, but I guess you should give your lineup.
Listen,
as well.
most of my audience loves the fact that I'm not going to talk, but actually, I'm going to throw the reins over to Corey. Hi, Corey. How are you?
Good. How you doing, sir?
What do you got? What do you got on your side, Corey? Gallo.
All right. I do not have Gallo leading off. I'll tell you what. After watching Hicks, I want to say Hicks leading off. I really do.
I don't.
But
you should.
I'll tell you what. After watching him on Friday night, bases loaded, 1 out, 3-0 count, double play, I think I'm going to agree with Jay Hertz and Karif. I'm going to send him to the Ukraine. So Hicks is in the Ukraine.
Damn it, God.
I'm going to go with DJ LeMahieu leading off, batting second. Rizzo at first. I'm going to put Rizzo batting 2. I hate this from a fielding standpoint, but I'm just trying to maximize the lineup. I'm going to do Judge 3 in center field. They never do this. The Yankees, I've never seen them actually do this, and maybe it's time to change it because obviously what's happening now ain't working. I'm going to go Stanton right field. I'm going to go Stanton 4. I'm doing Judge and Stanton back to back, and we could talk all the lefty. Or we could talk all the lefty righty you want. Honestly, I could care less about that right now because it clearly ain't working with the way you're doing it. So I want a bullpen guy to come in the game, 8th inning, guys on base, Judge is on, 1 out, and you get him out. You're like, oh, I got this guy out. But guess what? You got Stanton, who's just as dangerous right behind him. Now you got to go a second time to get him out. So I'm going Stanton clean up right field 4. Get this guy more outfield time. It's time. You're making that much money. Play the damn field. You had a good arm when you used to play there too. Donaldson, 3rd base, batting 5th. Again, I'm with Tom on this one. I'm going Gallo 6th in left field. I'm going to put Torres here at the DH spot. Let's go Torres 7. I want to give him at least a little bit of run. If you're not seeing it at the deadline, it's time to give up, trade him, move on, upgrade. And then I'm going Higgy and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. I actually love what Joe said before about him batting 9th to turn it over. So I agree with him right there on that. And that's the way I'm rolling.
I'm going defense first with this, and I'm with Joe on the Gallo-Torres split. I feel like if one person's going to be in the lineup, the other cannot be in that lineup, and you have to juggle around that the infield scenario. But for this case, since I'm running the team, I'm telling Glaber, you're sitting, buddy. You're on the bench, man. Have fun. Prove yourself and get back in this lineup because I'm going defense first with it, and I'm going to try to split up. I want to try to split up the all-nothing guys, but it's impossible to do with this lineup. So the best I can do is at least split up.
The Yankees don't have nearly as many of all-nothing guys that I think everyone thinks they do.
All right. Thanks for that, Tom.
Joey Gallo is a 3 true outcome guy. The Yankees don't have other 3 true outcome guys, really. They really don't.
But the problem is
Donaldson really
if the
hasn't-
Yankees aren't hitting
Donaldson,
home runs,
you
they're
can
not
give me
scoring.
Donaldson, but like I'm sorry, just like I get really annoyed when people say that Judge and Stanton are just like they're not three true outcome guys. They're not
But they're not scoring if they're not hitting home runs.
That's
They're a base
no,
to base
but
team.
like I said, if you're talking slugger wise, like Stanton hit 273 last year. Like you
Yes,
would think Stanton's a guy who would hit 210.
He's a good
He's
hit.
not.
problem
Judge
is
is the
missiles.
same kind of guy. They get on base. They're not those guys.
Missiles.
But the problem is they're all base to base guys. You know, Rizzo's not scoring from from first on the gapper, so you have to string hits together with these guys in the lineup. That's a very hard thing to do when these guys are predicated on power. When Rizzo, Stanton, Judge, and Gallo are basically in succession, you have to string 4 hits together because if Rizzo's the first guy on base, he needs at least 2 to 3 hits to get him around. And they got to, and when they get in the gap, they got to go in the gap. I mean, he's not going first to third on a single to right field, you know.
Here's my batting order. I'm going to try to throw it out there real quick. I got LeMahieu leading off second base, Rizzo hitting first, lefty, then Judge and Stanton, then Hicks, who's been off to a great start. And yeah, we want to send Aaron Hicks to the sun. I'm with it, but he is having a good start to the year. I think nothing better than splitting up the entire lineup with the lone switch hitter in there. He's batting 5th. Then I got Donaldson hitting 6th at third base, IKF hitting 7th at shortstop. Then I got Joey Gallo hitting 8th. Fuck you, Joey Gallo. I have you batting 8th. No, again, lefty, splitting up some of the righties, and then the catcher, the catching scenario, whether it's Trevino or Higgy, doesn't really matter. That's my 1 through 9. You have righties in between each of the left-handed at-bats if they're facing a right-handed pitcher, with Hicks obviously swinging it over to the left-hand side. That's what I'm looking at more than anything. It's just kind of splitting up the left-handed at-bats there. But that's what I got.
I got you. And listen, I'll tell you what. We came into the season thinking the Yankee lineup was all that. I gotta tip my hat to the pitching staff right now. I mean, really, the only guy that I'm not tipping my hat to is the ace of the staff in Garrett Cole. I mean, Nestor looked phenomenal. You got a great outing from Severino the other day too. I have no complaints about the pitching staff so far outside of Cole. It's the bats.
It's been good. It was great last year. And Corey, I also agree with you that if anyone had listened to Rich and I enough last year, the lefty righty, balance is something that's great, but like it doesn't matter if no one's hitting.
Yep.
The other thing is that they have these essentially 10 starters. And until someone either gets hurt, no one's going to get into rhythm. Like these guys need to play. Baseball is a game you play every day. And if you're not playing every day, you're going to get out of rhythm, and they need to figure what that is. And if that means like a true platoon of, like we were saying, Gallo and Torres, and that's what you do, Get the other guys in the lineup every day.
Comments are lit once again on Twitch here. We got with Jay Hertz 122. Higashioka is really good at framing, though. Thank God, because the guy can't hit his weight. Actually, Trevino has been a very solid framer as well, buying
Both
a lot of strikes for some of those pitchers. So, I mean, they're good. Again, on the defensive end, this team has been a vast improvement since last year at this time. It's just they can't hit for shit. Let's see here. Rich with the potty mouth. I need to cover my unborn daughter's ears. I'm sorry there, Rob. I'll try to clean it up for your unborn daughter. And congratulations once again. We got John again. Gallo can walk into a few in the regular season. He does it all the time. The guy is literally an automatic out in the playoffs.
He's only played one playoff game, so I don't know how much playoff stats are going with Joey Gallo here.
What was that, Tom?
I mean, I don't know how we can say Joey Gallo is an automatic out in the playoffs. I think he's played in one playoff game in his career. It was last year.
Fucking great team. Fresh Cake 5. These guys should call themselves Bats in Butts, not Empire State of Baseball. Corey, you in Florida?
Reading that one out loud.
Corey, you in Florida?
Fort St. Lucie, baby. Let's go.
Rich is going full Ron Burgundy here. He'll read anything the comments say.
John disagrees. He goes, Rich neglects his fans. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm reading the comments as is. But, and lastly, Boone just listens to the nerds and takes orders from above. He just helps the players when they are on their period. All right. Maybe I should.
Well, the second half of that,
again, Rick, you got to read the comment before you read it out.
Yeah, the second half of that really leaves a lot to be desired. But that is how the Yankees are run. They are run by the front office. Boone, for as much as you want to blame him for a lot of this, it's not his fault. He's
It's the
basically told
binder's
this
fault.
is the lineup. This is what you do. And nothing changes until that all changes.
Yep. And listen, the same thing could be said about Rojas with the Mets last year, too, because Rojas, I believe, is a good baseball guy. He's been around the game forever. He comes from a historic baseball family with the Alous. But the guy was so rooted into the analytics, just looking at the binders. Something would happen. I missed it.
That's why they're hired, though.
Yeah. And that's why they're hired. And you know what? That's why they're losing fans. Because everyone wants to focus on the analytics. The analytics, well, guess what? MLB is not a computer simulation. If it was, why isn't every team undefeated?
Right.
Well,
they can't
play each other, Corey.
It's not possible.
But
I know what you mean.
Every
team
should be 82 and
every
82.
team the same record?
81,
Rich,
81.
will give us a social media spot right now.
Yeah, sure. Why not, Joe? Make sure to give us a follow at ESB Podcast on Twitter. And of course, you give the boys a follow as well. Some of them have it in their little profiles here. But if not, you can give Corey a follow at G Gory. Pugga, or I know him for so long. You give Joe a follow at JR Pugs. Give Tom a follow at Wospil54. And you give me a follow at Rich J Rivera. But it's really the pod you got to follow at ESB Podcast. We're tweeting every day, game recaps. We're playing Wardle. We got some hot takes going on. We promote the show. It's a great place to be. Fun community there. We try to have some fun because at the end of the day, baseball is a sport. You should just have fun. This last weekend for the Yankee fans wasn't fun, but baseball's still fun. And we're going to get into some more
fun. It's sad.
It's sad, especially when a former Yankee does a primary damage against your team yesterday. That hurt a little bit. But we tweeted about that too. So make sure to give us a follow at ESB Podcast on Twitter. But we're going to continue. And I'll keep this going here because we were supposed to talk about this last week on the show, Joe, about one of our polls that went out on opening week.
Yes.
So
we posed the question to our fans: should more stadiums have retractable roofs, especially in northern climates? Mets were rained out tonight. There has been, actually, surprisingly, you would think the number is more. There has been 10 postponed baseball games due to weather so far this year, and we are a little over 2 weeks into the season. So, obviously, Rich, I think, do you have the poll results of what we ran?
I mean, I don't have it on me, but it was a lot of yes to no.
So that's a bad job by Rich. But I'll open this up.
Rich,
I'll start with Corey while Rich searches for the poll results. I'll start with Corey and what you think we should do about all these weather rainouts and whether or not you think more stadiums should have retractable.
12-2. 12-2.
Listen, I'll tell you what, if you live in Florida like myself, you're always going to want that stadium, man, because you get those afternoon rainstorms every day. Always happens, especially in the summer. But listen, baseball itself should not be played before April 15th. I'm sorry. You're starting March baseball in New York. Come on now. It rains all the time. You could get a blizzard. How many times have we seen blizzards? The Twins.
Detroit.
What are you doing? What are you doing, the Twins? You just built a new stadium. You had a dome. Granted, it was a terrible dome. But what are you doing? You're getting blizzards there in March. I don't get it. Listen, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, obviously you can't put a retractable roof on an existing stadium. It's way too much money. So you have to build a new stadium with it. You're not going to retrofit an existing one.
Correct.
It's way too absurd from a logistical standpoint.
Right.
If you're in the North, I would do it. Your stadium is rendered useless basically for 4 months out of the year. And as a fan, me personally, I want the peace of mind of knowing I'm going to go to the game and I'm going to watch the game. Just this last weekend on Saturday, I had this ticket planned for a while to go down. And the whole week, I'm checking the weather forecast, checking it all day. And of course, it was supposed to rain, and it did rain at night. But luckily, they got the game in. There was no threat of rain during the game. But it really wasn't until the night before that I said, okay, you know what? The weather looks like it's a little better. I want to go there with the peace of mind, knowing I have no rain. I went to Arizona. It was 105 degrees outside, and I've never been more comfortable in a stadium with in Chase Field there. I would do it 100%. Granted, PNC Park, most beautiful park in the game, and a roof would completely destroy that vibe.
Don't get me started.
I love PNC. PNC is the best, but
it's not the best.
Oh, I love it. But listen, if you're in this climate like
Give me 5 minutes.
okay, but yeah,
Well, Tom's itching to get in on this.
Yep,
so
go ahead, Tom.
What's your,
No, well,
what's your
PNC
thought?
Park completely overrated. They get credit for a skyline they have nothing to do with. Cool, you build a stadium that is open to a city. You shouldn't get credit for anything that's out there. That's bullshit. That's stupid. Also, went there one time for a Met game, and half the concession stands were closed.
Well, it's Pittsburgh. Nobody goes to the game.
There were a ton of Met fans. There was a holiday weekend. Half the concession stands were closed. It's a joke. It's so overrated. But no, I agree. The stadiums, they need to have retractable roofs. Listen, baseball is the game of the summer. Like we should. I agree with if we just don't start until April 15th. But even still, that wouldn't help today. It's still raining and cold. Baseball is a warm weather sport. Once we get into October, I get it. We get some cold games in there, but it's meant to be played in the warm. It's meant to be played in the summer. I mean, the Yankees,
which is outdoors.
Yeah, the Yankees had a hail delay on Saturday, which delayed the game an hour and a half. Which, granted, they took advantage of that. And that's the only reason they want to get in Baltimore, because they're an embarrassing franchise currently. But you shouldn't have to worry about that. Even going to games at this time of year, it's kind of miserable. It's football weather. You're all bundled up. If I'm at a baseball game, I want to wear shorts. I want to have a hot dog. I want to drink a beer. I want my sunglasses on. I want to be comfortable. I don't want to be bundled up unless it's a game that matters in October. If it's a game in April against the O's, I don't want to be all bundled up. I want to. It's pointless.
I pulled out my Texas Instrument calculator because I can't do math. It was actually 11-3 on the vote. 11-3. I don't know how to calculate percentages. My tips are horrible. Dan in the Twitter feed goes, no way. Weather has been an important variable in baseball since day one. Can't take that out of the equation without changing the game, in my opinion.
There's plenty of things since day one of baseball that changed that I think we're better for.
It's an extreme take. I'm actually for the retractable roofs, and it's a little bit of a moot point to kind of talk on to Corey's point here, to talk on Yankee Stadium and Citi Field specifically. These stadiums have been around for 12, 13 years. From an architecture standpoint, you cannot put a retractable roof on stadiums that are meant to be outdoors, but we're talking...
But you could have when they built them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, 20 years from now, sure. But new stadiums, especially in the North, I think should have a retractable roof. I think it'd be great to just have games played on time and no mess around with the schedules, no messing around with pitching. You have stadiums that'll be open for outdoor events. Well, it's technically indoor, but outdoor stadium events during the winter. I mean, come on, how cool. I think of one thing, and people know I'm a huge wrestling fan. Joe knows that, of course. There's a huge weekend in wrestling called WrestleMania. WrestleMania in Yankee Stadium would do wonders for the Bronx. It'd be awesome to see something like that generate so much money for that city and for that weekend.
Once every decade, though. See, I'm in the minority here. Baseball is an outdoor sport. Listen, I totally agree about Minnesota. Yes, it's basically Canada up there. It's cold. It snows until June. That's different. Same with Arizona and certain parts of Texas. It's 1,000,000 degrees out. You don't want people dying in the middle of the baseball game. So I get that. But this is the Northeast. This is we
it's
go
cold.
outside. But it's good. Little kids go outside. They don't have indoor stadiums. The big leaguers that make them hundreds of $millions can play outside. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, but I don't want to go. I'm paying almost $100 million to go to this game, and I want.
I'm paying that much money to go to a baseball game. You're paying $40.
I'm paying a bunch of money to go. I want to be comfortable.
Listen, I get it, but. There's not that many rainouts when you break it down. Maybe
it's not just rainouts. It's games when it's cold. It's rain delays. It's games if people don't want it. If it might rain out. Corey, you said you went to the game Saturday. I'm sure there's a bunch of Met fans who said, I don't know if I'm gonna go. Maybe I'm gonna sell my tickets, or maybe because there's always tickets available unless it's like a big time game. Maybe I'm not.
Joe would say they're not real fans.
Game of, but. Fine, you said they're not real fans. Those are real dollars that the teams aren't making, and I think it's a much better fan experience to be like, listen.
Can you imagine this San Francisco Stadium with a dome on it with that gorgeous view, or you imagine Wrigley Field? The windy city in Chicago is windy. I mean, it rains and it's
Let me check that math, Joe. Windy is windy. That's true. Correct.
You know what I mean? But you imagine Wrigley Field with a dome on it? Like, nobody wants to do that.
Well, again, we're talking retractable roofs. I'm talking about domes, and you're not going to put the roof on because it's windy. We're talking cold.
Chicago's weather is
talking...
volatile, to say the least. All right, and yes, Seattle, another prime example. It rains 70% of the time in Seattle. Makes sense. But New York doesn't need, first of all, you guys are overestimating how much these stadiums are going to be used for concerts and stuff. New York has 7 other stadiums to put a concert venue
I think it's a nice benefit. I don't think that's
it's
enough
not a
justify
deal
it.
breaker.
Yeah.
WrestleMania coming in once a decade to Yankee Stadium. Nobody in Yankee Stadium wants wrestling fans in that building anyway. Let's not even go there.
Let's be fair. The Yankees really only care about money, so that's
what we need. Fans getting suplexed out in Monument Park right there next to Babe Ruth.
Steinbrenner is a huge wrestling fan. That's what I heard. Steinbrenner is a huge wrestling fan. He would love to have the main event of WrestleMania next year to be held in the Bronx Yankee Stadium.
Yeah. They held it in MetLife.
Listen, all I'm going to say before we move on from this segment is if they built Citi Field with huge glass walls and a retractable roof, I also have that beautiful view of Flushing Bay and Chop Shop Alley. But anyway, we are moving on because we could talk about this all night. But if you want to join in on that conversation
from the stadium seats,
you certainly can. That's for sure. If you listen, call it whatever you want. It's crap to me. Anyway, if you want to continue to join us on that conversation, please follow us on Twitter because we had a whole debate on that just last week. But if you'd like to rewatch the entire show or watch any segments and clips that we might post up, please make sure to follow us on YouTube. Again, check out our page for the YouTube link. Everything you want is there. Full episodes, like the page, subscribe, share it to your friends so you could bullshit or make fun of us with everyone you know and love. Shifting topics. Yes, especially the latter.
All right, keep us going.
Let's go, baby. Let's keep rolling. We got the Queen's Gambit. New York Mets. Do we need Jacob deGrom? Yes, we do. But Joe, I'm going to start with you here. Third best ERA as of today for a pitching staff as a whole in the league, in the National League. Again, in baseball entirely, they have the best starting rotation ERA right now, 1.07. We are through 2 turns of the rotation. Joe, what are your thoughts here on the Mets?
I mean, it's great. This is everything the Mets dreamed of when they signed Max Scherzer and they traded for Chris Bassett. And the funny thing is, Scherzer is actually been the worst member of the rotation. He's just been okay. It's not even like he's been fantastic and lights out. Bassett's been phenomenal. I love what I'm seeing from him. I think he is going to be a Mets favorite. And I can see the Mets saying, you know, this is the kind of guy we want in this rotation for another 4 or 5 years after this. You know, Carrasco has finally looked like he's gotten back to what he was in Cleveland between the issues with cancer, between the issues coming into spring training last year. He had the hamstring issues, and then he had a shoulder issue, I think. You know, he couldn't get out of the first inning multiple times, you know, at any point last year, and he finally got over that hump. I think his first start, he actually gave up a home run in the first, which was funny, and didn't give up anything else. But now the last start, he gave up nothing. You know, McGill has done a phenomenal job stepping in. Peterson was great yesterday in the spot start, and Walker is going to come back from the IL, and he's going to probably replace Peterson right away. But if you're the Mets, you know, you have the best pitching in the league right now in terms of starters, and you have one of the best offenses in the league. You know, you're riding high as a Met fan. And the test was coming in today, and now will be a doubleheader. A straight doubleheader tomorrow, which is even better, with the Giants, with some fantastic pitching matchups between the two teams. And we're going to see if this Mets team's for real. I mean, they're going to get a test right away. And if they can hold their own against San Francisco, you know, I think any Met fan would be happy with a 2 games, 2-2 split. But, you know, you get a series win at San Francisco, Met fans should be excited. And I believe deGrom's going for an MRI this week to see if he's going to start his rehab soon.
That is correct. So we will definitely be keeping our fingers crossed there. But yeah, I mean, listen, the rotation's been great. And I agree 100% with Steve in the chat here. Bassett was the most underrated move this offseason. I love Bassett. Had him on my fantasy team last year. Guy was a stud until he got drilled in the dome. He actually led our team in points. I mean, the guy's a good pitcher. And I love the change in velocity where he'll throw this 70-mile-per-hour curveball, but then, get into the 90s also. Guy is a great pitcher. He knows what he's doing. And he's just supposed to be your 3-starter. Arguably the best 3-starter in the game when you have your full rotation. deGrom, you're doing with this without deGrom, but I'm going to be real here. If you plan to make it to the World Series, you want deGrom back because that's a guy who's going to shut anybody down. And if you're going 1, 2, 3 as deGrom, Scherzer, Bassett, I'll sign up for that against any lineup and just and just hope you put up enough runs against whoever they're throwing out there on the mound. So
the beauty of what's happening right now is that you don't have to rush deGrom back.
Yeah, 100%.
You can let him take as much time as he needs to recuperate and do what he has to do. Because right now, this Mets rotation's holding it down, and clearly they are. 1.07 ERA, as you mentioned before, Corey. John mentioned before. Best pitching staff stat since 1913. It's unbelievable what they're doing. Tyler McGill is stepping up into an insane role right now. I kind of question, though, hey, if things are going well, and yes, it's a small sample size. We're only talking 10 games, but if things are going well, by the time deGrom rolls around, who's the odd man out here?
That's where it gets tough.
That's a good question.
And listen, now, go ahead, Joe.
You let it play out. Right now, honestly, Walker's probably the odd man out at this particular moment. Walker's going to replace Peterson, who just had the spot start yesterday. But Walker's going to replace him. And at this particular moment in time, McGill has a 0 ERA. He's not leaving that rotation if he's still going strong. And nor should he, because the Mets need to have a young pitcher to groom, because Walker, Carrasco, and Bassett are all on short-term deals. And I think Carrasco's the only one with a year left on his contract after the season. So McGill needs to be there as long as he's pitching strong, because I think the Mets need him for the future. You can afford to play around with Walker, maybe in the bullpen or whatever it is you need. But that's a problem. That's a problem for a month from now. Let these guys continue to play it out, and at the end of the day, whoever's not pitching well, it probably will be McGill, as Jay Hertz says in the chat. Simply because he'll probably have the options left, but it's going to be hard if he continues to pitch the way he's pitched to pull him. At the end of the day, performance speaks.
Listen, if he has a 0 ERA in June, then I would assume you don't want to pull him out of the rotation. He's been good. The Mets starters have been as good as you could ask for. You got to see how it continues. Granted, they had the Phillies for a series, but they also went against the world-beating Nationals and Diamondbacks, two of the worst teams in the league. So the Giants is going to be an interesting test for this team. Yeah. Really see what they have, to see how this rotation stacks up against a good lineup, and how their offense goes up against just a good pitching staff and just a good team, right? The Giants were one of the best teams in baseball last year. Yeah. And we'll see. It's probably McGill who ends up out, but you're also dealing with, Scherzer, who's eventually he's going to get tired. I know it seems like impossible, but he's a older guy out there. And deGrom, maybe they don't even have him going every 5 days, because he has proven to be pretty injury prone. Maybe he does go every 6 days, and they do go with a bit of like a 6-man rotation. And they find ways to get deGrom a little bit of a break, because he seems to keep breaking down, which is a travesty for baseball, because he's electric to watch.
Normally, I would agree with you, but I think the veteran level that this pitching staff is, that a 6-man rotation is not going to serve this pitching staff well. Scherzer does not like to be messed with his regular day.
You could still find a way to get deGrom to go every 6 days. You could do things with shifting guys.
You can.
If you say Scherzer, you're going every 5, but we're going to then roll the rest of these guys through and with off days and stuff to get deGrom a little extra time.
You do that with younger teams where you like the Angels have to do that because Ohtani obviously needs some extra days to rest. Syndergaard's coming off of Tommy John surgery. You do that with a team like that. The problem with the Mets is they got 4-5 veteran pitchers in their rotation that have been going every 5th day their entire career. I actually think it'd probably be worse in the long term for them to go every 6th day now instead of every 5th day, just because they're so entrenched in that routine for in Scherzer's case for over 15 years now. I don't see the Mets going that direction with the rotation, but I think the one thing other than the rotation that the Mets should be encouraged about is the lineup, and the manager. I mean, Buck Showalter has been everything as advertised. The play with JD Davis yesterday on the appeal by our good pal Oliver Perez was a stroke of genius. I'm not 100. I'm assuming
how much is that Buck Showalter though?
Oh, he said he reviewed that specific scenario in spring training. but I tell you what, Buck is probably the one who brought that up in spring training. But I gotta give props to JD Davis for remembering it because that's a unique condition.
I was gonna say. I mean, listen, we're big fans of Buck Showalter. When we thought Boone was going to be fired, he was very high on Rich and I's list of replacements. I just don't know if we need to give him credit for everything that the players are doing on the field in those cases. Again, as someone who has seen spring training years and years, in person, there's a lot of guys who maybe not paying the most attention when they're going through some of these things. I think you give credit to the players in this case. Now, I'm sure Buck did go over it. But I think you have to credit the players. It was a very smart play by JD Davis to realize that and to get caught up in it. It's not the first time we've seen that. We've seen it a few times last year, I know. Just a really smart play by him. And again, give Buck some credit, but you got to give the lion's share of it to JD Davis.
Joe, you think Joe Maddon would have pulled that move off with the LA Angels this past weekend?
Oh my God! All right. We're gonna get into this before we go to the Chooch's pick of the week. Let me tell you something. The move that Joe Maddon made this weekend, if I was the general manager of that team, he would have been, I don't care how many World Series he has. I don't care how many magicians he brings in, how many psychiatrists he has talking to the players. He would have been fired before he got back to his desk in the clubhouse. The absolute insanity that it takes to walk Corey Seager with the bases loaded down a run. What does he think this guy is, Barry Bonds? He's Babe Ruth all of a sudden. He's down a run in the 4th inning, and it's April. I don't know. It was April 15th. What are you, out of your mind? The embarrassment, and the only reason he got away with it is because Jared Walsh turned around and hit 2 home runs later in the game, so he got away with it. So everybody's all of a sudden not the wiser. But the embarrassment, if I had to look my general manager in the face, I'd be like, what is wrong with you? Like, do you not like playing the game of baseball? Like, this is what we're doing. In the second week of the season, we are intentionally walking Corey Seager, not Mike Trout.
Yes.
Not Shohei Ohtani, not Aaron, Corey Seager. That's who we're walking with the bases loaded. Are we kidding me with that?
Joe Maddon, no matter what room Joe Maddon walks in, he thinks he's the smartest man in that room. You can't defend that.
You can't. This is April, and this is twofold. There's 2 reasons for this move. One, Maddon thinks he's the smartest guy since Thomas Edison discovered the light bulb. All right, we know that. And we know he's full of you-know-what because where has he brought the Angels since he got there?
Poopy.
And 2, this is what happens when you manage the Angels for half a decade. All right? And every single time, basically, he's feeling the pressure because the Angels have 2 of the best players on the planet and can't even sniff the playoffs. Okay. And they could sign whoever they want. They could cut all the old guys that they want. And they're still not getting close to the playoffs. So this is Maddon trying to overmanage and save a game here and save a game there. You're going to see this kind of stuff all the time. But my God, if that didn't earn you a pink slip out of here, there is no manager in the history of baseball. And Buck Showalter would know. He's the one who walked Bonds, but he walked Bonds down 2 with the bases loaded in the bottom of the 9th with 2 outs. So he picked his poison and said, well, I'd rather face I think it was JT Snow after him.
Bonds also is having the greatest historical season of all time.
Correct.
You can't compare him to Corey Seager, who's a fine baseball player.
Wish
he was the Yankee shortstop.
You can make the reasonable and say, okay, bottom of the 9th, bases are loaded. Down, you're up 2. You want to walk Seager to get to Cole Calhoun? Okay, I could see you. That's completely reason. I would say, all right, that's fine. It was the 4th inning of a game on April the 15th that you were already down in, so you were adding to the other team's lead. Oh my God! Talk about a guy that needs to go.
Unless it is a must-win scenario, life is on the line. You never should be walking any batter with the bases loaded, especially a guy who was not even on the field in 2021.
How do you look Mike Trout in the face? How do you come back into that dugout and look Mike Trout in the face?
Did you see the reaction from Trout the moment they walked him?
Extra run.
Did you see the reaction from Trout the moment they walked him? He was just like, "What? What's happening?"
I'm telling you that's the kind of stuff. If he didn't win that game, you will have lost the locker room right then and there.
What the Angels, just as a franchise, have done to Mike Trout's career just should be enough to have them just retract it from the league and just move somewhere else. It's how can you be a fan of the Angels year after year? It has to be so incredibly frustrating considering you have the best player probably in the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years possibly. And Mike Trout, granted, he's been hurt as of late, and just not even sniff the playoffs is embarrassing.
Steve, who's been very active in our chat, thank you for all your comments here. It says Joe Maddon did everything he could to lose that World Series Game 7 in 2016. And Joe Maddon, of course, like one of the most overrated executives / managers / non-players in the game. That I don't know why people think he's just like this guru at the helm. I mean, Joe Maddon is as overrated as it gets. That move this past weekend showed it right there. And yes, he's lucky his team pulled it out. Thank God to Jared Walsh. But oh man, 2 weeks into the season, what are we doing, guys? So bad.
That'll be a nice YouTube rant.
Yes, we got a few.
All right, before we get into Chooch's game of the week, let's go to our last spot of the day, which is follow us on Empire State of Baseball on Instagram, ESB Podcast on Twitter. Subscribe to our Twitch and YouTube channels. Hit the subscribe button and enjoy all the content as it comes out, and be notified as we post videos and other content to our pages.
And as Joe mentioned, Chooch's game of the week once again brought to you by our boy Matt Tucker. Let's see what he has today for Chooch's game of the week.
What's up, baseball crew? Chooch is back with his pick of the week. This time, I got the series of the week for you. We're going to kick it off right away tonight, starting Braves at Dodgers. Freeman versus his old team. This matchup, we have Yanoa versus Kershaw tonight. Kershaw coming off an almost perfect game, but he was pulled. Can he repeat with a good matchup tonight? What do you guys think?
Well, he was clearly working from home because his Microsoft Outlook just went off in the background of that video. But he talked about the series of the week. Let's talk about the game tonight, though. As he mentioned, Dodgers Braves, the first set for Freddie Freeman against his former club. Obviously, they are after the big surprise contract that was made towards the end of this past offseason. Would have been a lot more fun to see this debut game happen in Atlanta, but it's happening in LA. Hoskar, I don't know what the fuck. Yanoa. It's Kershaw. What do you guys got in this matchup? What is your pick for tonight's game?
Oh man. For the Kershaw, first of all, a little bit about the almost perfect game. again, over managing. I know Kershaw has been injured. I know he's not stretched out. I know. But you're 34 years old. You're walking into the Hall of Fame. The only thing that you don't have on your resume is a perfect game. There's only been 23 in the history of baseball. And can you go out? You 80 pitches. All right, 110 pitches with his arm history. I'm sorry. If it was me, I'd tell my manager, you're not you'll have to drag my corpse off the mound. I mean, that's just the truth.
If he didn't even basically pitch last year, he had thrown at this point was like 60. You can't. I don't think. Listen, if the Dodgers were the Rockies, who actually are starting for good this year, but or the Orioles, or a team that just didn't matter, then yeah, whatever, screw it. Go out there, try to go for the perfect game. If you don't make it and you got to go on the IL for 2 months, it's worth it. But the Dodgers have bigger aspirations. I don't think it's a smart move to not let him in. The good point I know hearing from, again, on Yankees, and hearing from David Cohn talk about this is, if he goes out, he has 80 pitches in the 7th. What if in the 8th inning he throws 25 pitches? And then you're going to let him go out in the 9th with 105?
Listen, the game's not in doubt. Throw fastballs down the pipe and hope for some luck. I mean, you got it. As long as you have it, you have to try for it. Even if it's a half-concerted effort to try for it. It's history. It doesn't – it's not a no-hitter. Nolan Ryan threw 7 no-hitters. Nolan Ryan never threw a perfect game. It's a big difference, which, by the way, fun stat about Nolan Ryan, he never pitched in a game that he didn't walk a batter. So
Corey, Dodgers Braves about to kick off in an hour, 10 minutes. What you got?
Dodgers Braves. I like the pitching matchup.
Did I ask you, Corey?
You asked Corey. All right, let's go, Corey.
Go.
I hope the Dodgers win. I don't like the Braves, and I hope Freeman hits 5 home runs tonight. So I'm going to go with the Dodgers. Good pick, Matt. Good pick, Chooch. Like it.
All right, go ahead, Joe. You got it.
I was gonna
go ahead.
I was being nice to Tom.
I mean, yeah, I'll go with the Dodgers. Dodgers home, and I love Freddie Freeman, another guy. I wish he was the Yankee right now. But yeah, let's roll with the Dodgers. Kershaw goes back out there and keeps it rolling.
And right. I got the Braves with the statement win against the Dodgers here. Listen, they're away. It had a tough start in his last outing. I think he's going to bounce back. This is somebody who is definitely a touted pitcher in the Braves system. They're hoping for the best for him. Maybe Kershaw will be a little bit burnt from that last game. I don't know. Even though he came out rather early, I'm going with the Braves with the surprise win over the Dodgers tonight.
I think Kershaw keeps it going. He's too good. He's too good to not block out all the nonsense. But the Braves have not impressed in the early season. Max Fried's been bad, flat out bad. The team's been shaky. And, I'm of the mind of there's such a thing as karma in this game. And when you let somebody like Freeman go, even though you got this as close to a good a replacement for him as you could possibly get, you've disrupted that locker room. You've kind of created the whispers. Well, this wouldn't happen if Freeman was there. You have Acuna turning around and talking bad about him. I think the Braves have lost a little bit of that edge, a little bit of that hunger that got them there. I think Freddie was a big part of that. He was a consummate pro. He kept the team in focus at all times. You got Ozuna back. I question whether or not players actually like playing with him at this particular point in his career after everything that's happened. So you know what? I like the Dodgers in this series. I like the Dodgers at home in Chavez Ravine. And I think the Dodgers will win this series. And I think the Braves have a chance to have a little bit of a panic early in the season.
There you go. I like it. Chooch's game of the week. Once again, thanks, Matt. And make sure to give him a follow at mtook45 on Twitter. Joe, take us home.
All right. So thank you, everybody, for joining in. Remember, we will be live every Monday at 8 p.m. on Twitch. You can follow us there, subscribe, and get the notification once we go live. Guys, been a good week. Hopefully not too much rain left in the forecast for this week, and we get all these games in. So any last thoughts?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'm going to follow Even Steven in the chat. I know we're a baseball show, but just a special shout out to Mike Bossy. Very shame to see what happened to him. Late Islander great in the late 70s and the 80s, Hall of Fame
New York
hockey
legend.
player. Yep. So always it's a shame to see him go, but hope his family the very best.
Absolutely. And guys, once again, thanks so much for the support and love. I saw that we had a little over 20 live viewers at one point, which is excellent for an episode 3 here on Twitch. We appreciate your support. Keep supporting us. Follow us. Subscribe to us. Everything that Joe just told you before. We appreciate the love, guys. Thank you. Tom? Is Tom frozen?
No.
All right, thanks.
Just sitting very still.
All right, very good.
Sitting very still.
Excellent.
There we go.
I was mesmerized by your words.
Had enough of
Yes.
you. All righty. Well, it's a show.
Well, thanks a lot, everybody. Have a good day.
Take care.